So today, the 10th day in the month of March 2025, and we're running our weekly analysis, which is analysis of the market for this week from the 10th today to the 14th, which will be Friday this week. What does the market hold in stock for us? Morning to every other person that's responding. Now, the daylight savings has been changed. If you check the Forest Factory, I'm on Forest Factory now. We have Sunday night, March 9th, 8 uh, 8 a.m. daylight saving time shift for Canada and daylight saving time shift for United States. Now, what happens is that every year around, I think it's around September to March, thereabout, there is that daylight saving where the time zone changes by 1 hour. So prior to that time, for those of us that are in Africa, we're closer to Europe. The time zone, Nigeria was on GMT plus one. Then will be once the daylight savings change at that's September ending. Our time begins to read as if it's a GMT plus zero, exactly the same thing as that of people in maybe United Kingdom that is on GMT zero. Ours also becomes GMT zero, and that's why at that period, we start seeing that our meta trader, the time begins to read 11 p.m. in the night. That's when the new day starts, unlike before when it was 10 p.m. So we've changed the daylight savings has been changed again. So if you check your meta traders last night, you discover that today the new day started 10 p.m. last night. So if you check your meta trader going forward, the new day will begin by 10 p.m., not 11 p.m. again. So I want us to take note of that as we start the new week. So today there will be no fundamental event, none. You can see Monday is blank, no fundamental event for Monday. And for Tuesday by 3 p.m., there'll be just job opening. I will just look at the key events for the week because of time. And on Wednesday, we have a lot of fundamental activity on Wednesday, but the very important ones on Wednesday will be the CPI, which will come up by 1:30 p.m. We'll be trading this one live at PU Prime, so make sure you join us. We had NFP last Friday, but the data did not come out just in line with our expectation. Though there was no loss anyway, we're able to manage trades to break even. So we hope to have a better data by CPI this Wednesday to now be 1:30 p.m. Take note, if you remember, as our last week Friday when we had NFP, we told us to join the group, join the class by 2:15 because the data will be released by 2:30. And now it will not be 2:15, 2:30 anymore. It's going to be 1:15, 1:30. So I want us to take note of this so that we can make adjustments. So CPI will be released this Wednesday by 1:30 p.m. But we will be live to run analysis for the CPI by 1:15 p.m. So I want us to take note of these changes so that we can plan our time, better. And that's for Wednesday. For Thursday, the key event for Thursday is the core PPI, and unemployment claims. These are the three events for Thursday, and they are the ones we'll be looking to trade also. And finally, on Friday, the important event for Friday is we have GDP, gross domestic product, is a key economic indicator. It's coming up in the morning on Friday by 8 a.m. And later in the day, we have a combination of prelim UOM consumer sentiment and prelim UOM inflation expectations. Those two also combine to move the market. So these are the key events to look out for, which you can plan to trade. But the only one we're trading live this week is going to be the CPI, which comes up on Wednesday by 1:30 p.m. Let's take note of the time. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to flip over now to the technicals and we'll look at what I'm seeing in the market for this week. All right, I will first start with an update. Last week, Friday, I posted a setup in the groups, the WhatsApp groups for, I think it was general, so I cross-brought to all the groups. I posted about my analysis on the BTC USD, and I said BTC was forming a symmetrical triangle, and I gave specific levels where price may get to, if, as at the time I gave the analysis, BTC was trading just within the middle of the symmetrical triangle. I said it in that analysis that if price breaks out upward, it would mean we're looking for a buy. If it breaks out downwards, it means we're looking for a sell. And I said if we're looking for a buy, price is expected to hit the recent high up there. And if that's if it's a buy, if it's a sell on the other hand, price is expected to target the lower side. And you can see on the screen currently, price has hit the lower part just exactly as I said it will. So each time we post this analysis set up, let's take note of it. They have been critically viewed, critically analyzed by professionals with years of experience in the industry. This can give you an edge and an extra opportunity to trade and take profit, from the market. So that's my update. That's from last week, Friday. And looking at what we have for this week, I'll be putting a lot of my attention this week on the JPY pairs. The Japanese yen pairs are my instruments of focus for this week. And I'll be starting with the AUD JPY. Now, for the AUD JPY, if we look at this instrument from the weekly time frame, let me zoom out. You can clearly see that last week Friday candle, the whole of last week candle, not just Friday alone, because on the weekly time frame. The whole of last week candle actually ended up as a rejection candle right there on the weekly time frame. Okay, so Amos is saying he cannot hear me. Is that everybody's experience? Mr. Amos is saying he can't hear me. Is there another person who can't hear me also? Or if you can hear me, please can you say yes, you can hear me?
Very well, we're hearing you.
All right, thank you. So I think Mr. Amos needs to check his device. Amos, kindly check your device. Check your device. Thank you very much, Mr. Ekwe. Thank you, Mr. Akman. Thank you, Madam Onajim. So, Mr. Amos, you kindly check his device, can log out and log in again. Let me just type this for you. Log out. Log in here. All right, thank you for that. So we can see that the candle for last week ended the week as a rejection candle right there on the weekly time frame. And not only that, price is seen to be bouncing off the trend line, still on that same weekly time frame. We can see a bounce of price. Price is making a series of higher lows, and this higher low is touching the trend line, and at the same time, rejection candle with a support zone. You can see we have a support zone all through there. So technically, this is expected to give us a bullish movement on the AUD JPY for this week. And if we go to the daily time frame, it's still the same thing, though with much more clearer outlook. On the daily time frame, the candle for last Friday specifically also closed as a rejection candle. On that, this is now a confluence zone, a confluence spot where you have price hitting trend line, forming a support, and also a rejection candle forming. Everything is pointing, is creating a pull on the AUD JPY. Now, like I said, the daily candle last Friday also ended up as a rejection candle. And also, if you look at it critically, this looks, if we are really expecting, anticipating a bullish movement, then this might end up forming a double bottom pattern, which equally means we should be anticipating a bullish breakout, all things being equal. So with all this being said, if I flip down to the 4-hour time frame, I can now see it clearer that price is forming an inverse head and shoulder, which is equally an indication of a bullish breakout. Though for this one, we need to wait for price to break above the neckline, which is this zone up here. So that's purely for swing traders. But for intraday trading, which is possible within the course of today, Monday, I'm seeing here the formation again of an inverse head and shoulder on 1 hour, and price is just approaching the neckline. Now, if price breaks out above this neckline, then price is going to target this resistance level over there. Now, if the volatility is very strong, it might proceed to that 4-hour inverse head and shoulder. If the volatility is not strong enough, we may experience a retracement to a reversal from this point. But generally, on the 1 hour, I am bullish on the AUD JPY. And like I said, if the volatility in the course of the week is so strong and it breaks above that level, then it may go back to the swing uh, region where I have much more bigger bullish movement. But tentatively, I'm focusing on the 1 hour for now. And if it works out as this, as just like I explained it here, you're seeing price go as high as about 70 pips on the AUD JPY, in the bullish direction. So I'm bullish on the AUD JPY. And there's a similar pattern, just exactly like this on the New Zealand JPY. So I will not repeat it. It's exactly the same setup as we have on the AUD JPY. And the reason why it's exactly the same is that AUD PS generally and New Zealand, they are very positively correlated. The same thing happens on both of them virtually all the time. So you can see that this one, I think even the inverse head and shoulder on the 1 hour of this one, they were more clearer than what we saw on AUD JPY, and it's targeting the price. If price breaks out again, it will target that resistance level up there on the 1 hour time frame. And so we're anticipating a break above the neckline to hit that region over there. And if that happens, we'll be targeting about 60 pips on the New Zealand JPY. And last one for the card is the card JPY, and it's also having a similar structure, though slightly different from what we saw on the AUD JPY and the New Zealand JPY. For this one, price hits the support zone. It's purely support. That is a key level, is a support zone. Price has reacted to this level multiple times, indicating a bullish movement this time around. And on the daily time frame, you can still see that price touched that support zone last week. And 4 hour, on 4 hour, we have a falling wedge pattern. Now, like again, if all this one now depends on the level of volatility in the course of the week. And please take notes, this analysis is purely on technicals. This is purely technical, using price action and top-down analysis. If the volatility is strong this week and price is able to break above this resistance zone here, all right, then we may be expecting a further bullish breakout on this instrument. It may end up forming like a double bottom pattern and break. That is if the volatility is strong. But if we're not looking out for that, if that's for swing, for intraday, I still anticipate a bullish movement on this instrument, just like I've seen on the other pairs, the other card pairs. And that's a break from this current. As of last night, it was like it's forming an inverse head and shoulder, but the structure is slightly changing. So still a rejection candle here. I'll still be anticipating a breakout from this region. It may not move as much as the others, but you can still catch some decent pips on this one. This is where we have the resistance level where price will the trend line at this area. And this can tentatively can give as much as about 38 to 40 pips. All right, so we're anticipating about 70 pips on AUD JPY, 60 pips on AUD JPY, and about 40 pips on CAD JPY. So we're bullish on all three. Must you trade all of them? No, the one that breaks out first, that's what we should take. So we can just take like one or two of the JPY pairs as the market delivers the trades. And for the pound, the same. The pounds also, I'll be looking at 3 pound instruments that are also ready to move for the course of the day and the week. And I'll be looking first at the GBP AUD. GBP AUD. And for the GBP AUD, on the weekly time frame, okay, let's start from the monthly. On the monthly time frame, we can see that price hit a resistance zone right up there. And we have a resistance zone and a rising wedge pattern. Now, with the resistance, I think some of this, please careful with your annotation too. Okay. All right. So we have a rising wedge there, and let's take it down to the weekly. I think it will be easier to give us a wave. All right, so we have a resistance and a rising wedge. And we have price has been trading within this rising wedge, making a series of higher highs and higher lows, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher high. So the next wave of movement is downward, is a higher low movement. That's the next wave. And coincidentally, it now happens that the price is hitting the trend line at that point, and where there's equally a resistance, also anticipate the higher low movement. So we're expecting a bearish movement on the GBP AUD for this week. And this one is purely a swing setup. On the daily time frame, we can still see price hitting the trend line and resistance. And on 4 hour, seeing the formation of a double top pattern. Now, if this works out, you can see that price is already facing downwards. Does that mean you should enter a sell? The answer is no. Wait for price to clearly break below the neckline. Like I said, this one should be treated strictly as a swing trade. So we have a neckline here. Double top patterns are like letter M. So we'll wait for price to break through, trade it downwards as price break out below the neckline. So this one is strictly for those who are swing traders. So we're expecting a bearish on the GBP AUD in the course of this week. All things being equal. And GBP New Zealand is exactly, but let me say very close to what we saw on the GBP AUD. We have a rising wedge pattern on the weekly time frame, and on the 4 hour time frame, it's equally forming a double top, just like we saw on the GBP AUD. You can see the AUD again, just like the AUD JPY and the New Zealand JPY do the same thing. Same thing we're seeing on the AUD, GBP AUD, and the GBP New Zealand. So if this works out fine also, then we should see a double top pattern. I will anticipate a break and enter sell once price breaks out below the neckline region. So we're bearish on both the GBP AUD and the GBP New Zealand. Now the one that will be intraday and swing on the GBP is actually the card, the GBP card. Now for the GBP card, on the monthly time frame, you can see that there is a descending trend line. You can see the downward trend line, which indicates that price is in a downward trend. The rising wedge, everything is pointing to price dropping further for a bearish direction. So overall trend is bearish on GBP card right from the monthly, and this is the weekly. Now the weekly, you now see that price now at least closed on last Friday with at the confluence, at the point of confluence. That is the point where the trend line for the monthly and the trend line of the rising wedge, both of them is colliding. You can see the rising wedge price is making higher highs and higher low, and the next wave is downward. So this whole place here is a point of confluence where a reversal is expected to take place. And that's on the weekly. If you take it down to the daily, you can still see prices around that region. And on 4 hour, the rising wedge, a rejection candle earlier on with a rising wedge, still indicating the possibility of a bearish movement. But my focus here will be more of the 1 hour. And as I said, for these GBP pairs, this is the one I can look out for a 1 hour breakout. Now, the 1 hour, this instrument is trying to form the head and show that we'll be anticipating a breakout below the lower trend line. If that happens, we will trigger a sell on the GBP card. And that could happen in the course of today. So we look at it critically. Now, we don't have any fundamental event today. So what we're having is purely technical trades. So the other implication of no fundamental also is that the market will also be a bit slow. But nonetheless, let's watch out for the pairs that we have mentioned and anticipate price movement. Now, if you look at the Fibonacci level, so Fibonacci 50 here, wow, this one is massive. The Fibonacci 38.2, I think that should be our first focus. If price breaks out below the first Fibonacci level, the Fibonacci 38.2 can give as much as about 68 pips. 50 can give as much as 120 pips thereabouts. it's 1.8 can be about 170 pips. But I think our focus should just be the first Fibonacci level of trading. And that's, we don't know where the breakout will happen from. I'm only using the first Fibonacci level. So happen before that area. So we could be targeting between 50 to 80 pips on the first Fibonacci, sorry, the first trade on this one. So we're bearish on the GBP card on the 1 hour time frame. All right, so that'll be all from my analysis for today. And this is actually the analysis of the week. For those who are swing traders, you can pay more attention to the 4-hour side of this analysis. So for day traders, we're looking at buy on AED New Zealand JPY, and CAD JPY today. And also we're looking at the sell on the GBP card also today. And if you're a swing trader, then you can look at the swing version of all these, currency pairs. All right, so that'll be all from my end. I'll take on the questions I'm seeing right now in the comment section and around the analysis there. All right, so Mr. Jaffet is asking to check GBP JPY. Jamal Udo is asking to check USD JPY, and Mr. Ekman is asking that I check gold. Right. So let's start with the GBP JPY. Now, generally, like it looks a lot like most of the JPY pairs are getting ready for a bullish breakout. But for GBJPY, I'm not having a clear setup. That doesn't mean it may not buy, but I'm not getting a clear setup on it like I found on the ones I mentioned. Personally, I don't like to violate my trading rules. I wouldn't just say buy because others are buying. So probably in the course of the day, if we see a clear, bullish setup on GBJPY, we'll let you know. But at the moment, I'm not seeing much clarity. The only thing I can just say for now is that I can clearly see there's a range. Price has been ranging around this region. I see there's a clear range here. And if price breaks out above the range, well, that could lead to a bullish movement. But I'll rather wait for more clarity, except if you're already on the trade. So I would say if you're already on the buy trade, a bullish trade, maybe you should just hold it. Let's see how it goes. But generally, I'm not seeing much clarity around the GBP/JPY. And someone else is asking for USJPY, then gold. So before I talk about USJPY and gold, I would like to look at dollar index first, because that's the index that connects both the USJPY and gold together. Okay, so this is the USDX, that's the dollar index. Now for the dollar index, I did this analysis last week when we traded, and price is trading around a previous resistance on support level on the monthly time frame. So the price hit the resistance twice and hit the support once. So technically, we are expecting a kind of a reversal in the bullish direction on the dollar. Now, it may not be the overall trend for the dollar is still bearish. It may just be a retracement, but that's what I'm seeing. In technical analysis, you trade what you see, no sentiments. The sentiments are typed. That's what I can see from the monthly time frame down to the weekly. And besides, you can see that the whole of last week, market was bearish all through. Sometimes when you have a very big sell like this, the following week you may have a retracement where price may buy. It doesn't mean it's a reversal and the trend is reversing, but price might just take a break from the selling and buy a little as a retracement before further continuation. So I want to believe in maybe having a retracement this week, except if the fundamental event this week says otherwise. But today we are not having any fundamental trade. It's purely technical, showing you what I can see on the chart. So I hold a bullish outlook on the dollar for today. So with that being said, I can check the USJPY. All right. So this is the USDJPY. I'm not really having a clear support zone also where we could look for a buy on this. We can still depend on what we saw on the dollar index to be a guide. The only thing I'm seeing here is this is also in a range, and the price breaks out upwards. I might be looking for an opportunity possibly to buy. And this actually could be more driven by what is happening on the other JPY pairs since they are bullish. That could drive this. So if price breaks out above this resistance zone, I mean the resistance level of this range, you might be looking at buying the USD JPY. But I'd rather encourage us to focus more on the pairs that I've mentioned. Those ones have a higher probability, they are more of a higher probability setup. And for gold, now, dollar, like I said, overall long-term trend is still bearish, though currently we might see some retracement. Gold overall long-term outlook is actually bullish. But then since the dollar is looking slightly bullish, you may expect some slight bearish movement on gold. So, like I said, it may be just a slight, bearish movement because gold always goes the opposite, which is negatively correlated to the dollar. So if gold will go bearish, it will just drop from the current spot, possibly to the lower side, of this range, and maybe break it downwards, but it may not be so strong a sell. However, if anything happens in the course of the week and gold breaks out above this resistance zone, if gold breaks out above this resistance zone, like getting ready for a long time. But for now, we can see it's actually ranging. Gold is ranging at the moment, and it just range up and down within this zone. It just be a range. So again, for emphasis, put more attention. Except you're already on the trade on this other instruments we're looking at, then put your attention more on the one I personally analyze. That's the AED JPY, the New Zealand JPY, and the others. Those ones have a much more clearer setup than the grade A setup for the week. All right, so that's going to be all from my end. All the analysis I've been asked to check. All day, what time does PE Prime open for the weekend? Excuse me. The forex arm of the platform shuts on Fridays. Again, for maybe you were not there when we started the analysis. That's for all the daytime light savings has changed. So platform kicks off now 10 p.m. As our last week it was 11 p.m. So now it's 10 p.m. So for the BTC, the market does not shut down. Market doesn't shut down. BTC runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year. So BTC, so there's nothing like one time the market runs for weekend. No, BTC is always running. But Forex shuts down by Friday, and by Friday, 10 p.m. going forward, and opens by 10 p.m. on Sunday. All right, so that's the end of the analysis. Don't forget we're having CPI this Wednesday by 1:30 p.m., but we'll be going live for analysis by 1:15 p.m. please let's readjust our schedule and take note. It's no longer 2 p.m. Sorry, it's no longer 2:15, 2:30. It's now 1:15 p.m. for analysis for live news trading, and the news will be released by 1:30 p.m. So let's look into our schedule and make ourselves available. We'll still give you more information. And if you want to trade with us and you don't have a funded account to do that, go straight right now to our website to open a live trading account at www.puprime.com. You know, go ahead and open an account. Verify your account with two documents: the government issued ID, which can be your driver's license, your NIN, your voter's card, or international passport, and your proof of residence. And once you do that, you're verified customer with Prime, and you can go ahead to fund and start trading. Udemy, please review the changes PV Prime have made. There's no changes PV Prime have made. The daylight savings is a global thing. It's not just PV Prime. That's the only changes in the market as at this morning. It's for all brokers worldwide. So it's not just about PV Prime. All right, so that'll be all. Don't forget, we have physical training 2 days this week, Tuesday and Thursday at the Abuja and office. Abuja office is going to be Tuesday by 10:30 a.m. and Thursday 10:30 a.m. And Lagos office is Tuesday 11 a.m. and Thursday 11 a.m. And this week we're going to be concluding the section of the training for this month, the fourth batch of training for this month. And next week we'll start a fresh batch of training. All right, Mr. Ekpese, thanks. I'm very happy for helping me upgrade my trading career. Yeah, that's what we do at PO Prime. That's why we're for you. And I can tell you that no broker does it just like PO Prime. You know, PO Prime is the main broker you should trade with. That's why you need to have a trading account with us to enjoy more. And if you're there, you're not part of our funded client group, you are missing a lot. You need to upgrade your account, drop more funds in your trading account, reach out to your account manager to get you added to the funded client group so that you can receive more signals. Okay, we'll see you again some other time. Take care. Have a great day and a great week ahead. Bye-bye.